see. I will say, okay, top of the hour. I will share my screen. Avish will have to help me because I'm drugged to the max here. Can you see my screen, everyone? Avish?
Now, yep.
Okay, good.
Yes.
So, and so what I wanted to do is, and I'm hoping that, oh man, I can't believe it. Let's see if he's on. Nope. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, so let's go ahead and just last webinar we talked about a few new JV partners, and Tony is on. Tony Dragon, say hi, Tony.
Hi, guys.
Okay, and
Hey, Tony.
Avish, you met Tony briefly, didn't you?
Maybe if you called me while he was out there once.
Okay.
Not
So,
in person, certainly.
yeah. I think you did. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to attempt to get through this here, and I'm in. Earlier today, I was almost having to go to the ER. That's how bad it was.
Oh, geez.
So it's the pain has been substantial, a little bit more than I expected, but hey, the show must go on, as we say. I'm looking to see if Carla is on. I don't see Carla on, so I don't know what's going on there. Anyway, so we have some new JV folks, and I just wanted to Avish, maybe you can help me as well on this one today because I'm a little bit out of it. So give me some ideas on what's happened with or any activity with Be Funny as a speaker, which I will now bring up.
Yeah, lots of activity on my end. Redid the site, redid the intro video, the opt-in, put up a landing page for the free video, put up a sales page for the recordings of the webinar I ran in April and May. And so I started playing around with some Facebook advertising just to drive some traffic right away. And, it's done okay results. It's a little early to really throw in the towel on it, but, it's about a 10% sign-up rate for the people that click through. And so far, no sales. So I'm going to let that ad run for another week or so. And we have an autoresponder set up.
Give me the cost per name capture rate. In other words, how much is it costing us to get an opt-in?
Let me bring that up. Now, Facebook's weird because I'm doing a pay-per-click, but it's like they charge you per impression until you get a click, and then they call it a click, so it's kind of weird. But according to my thing, there's two ads. One is saying 71 cents per website click. One is saying $1.36 per website click.
Per website click. I'm talking about the opt-ins. In other words, how many dollars have you spent and how many opt-ins have been created?
Oh, okay. Let me bring up that page then.
Because our only metric that we care about is sort of how much is it costing us to get someone to opt in, and then after that we can figure, what is the value of each customer. So that's the ultimate determination there.
Right. So it looks like there have been 5 total opt-ins from a total of about $24 spent so far.
Yeah. Yeah, that to me, that's what. So we're looking at $5 an opt-in.
Yeah.
Unless we had some really, really high-priced products and some really, really great conversion rates, doesn't sound like it's working well.
Right.
It's always good to try, though. I mean, but that's like the cost there is really high. Tony, you and I
Well,
talked.
it kind of depends on the. It would kind of depend on the conversion of if any of those turn into sales. Because if one of those opt-ins turns into a sale, that's a $200 sale. At which point, spending $25 an opt-in isn't if you're getting a 20% return. Yeah. So I want to let it run for a little bit just to see if any of those convert based on the autoresponder and whatnot.
Yeah, probably worth trying on a limited basis. But I'll tell you the numbers are really too small to even sort of talk about this too much because you're looking at, to get, I don't know, did you in school take any stats classes?
Well, a little bit. Stat was never my favorite subject.
Yeah, the one thing about that I remember is that obviously you need, a certain size sample in order to get some realistic results that you can derive any kind of hypotheses from, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it needs
and
something to be statistically significant.
I'm sorry?
So yeah, you need it to be statistically significant.
Yeah. And so usually, I mean, if you get a minimum in this business, 100 will give you, some idea, but more like 500 will give you a better idea of what's going on. But so, in other words, for this to be even right now with these numbers, if we were to take five as a number of opt-ins at $25 to make it easy, and multiply that 20, we'd have to go up to $500 to see whether or not, it was it, and even then it might not be accurate. So I'm just a
Right.
little bit concerned about how much it's costing. So, and Tony, you and I talked about this. One of the things that Tony is doing in Vancouver with the travel is that he does a lot of continuing education. And Avish, this might be something you should look into as well in Philly, which is Tony has been doing. And Tony, why don't you just tell Avish how you do that when you do your continuing ed centers, and how you get people to opt in?
Well, for me, is I created three courses, one general course and two more specific courses. And so when I started this process in 2006, I just found a niche, how to travel above your means without paying for it, wrote a blurb, went to all the coordinators, people loved it, and
Wait, you
they
skipped a,
partnered
you
up with
skipped a
me.
step there, Tony. Coordinators of what for whom?
All the program coordinators of all the continuing education around the Vancouver area. I probably partner up with over a dozen.
And in
And
doing
so
Yeah, and in doing that, Tony, give Avish an idea. First off, in this case, in a case like that, people were actually paying to be prospects because you actually got paid for the course as well, correct?
that is correct. So we charge $99. I agreed to a 50-50 split. And with the coordinators, they allowed me to keep the email address even before they came through the door. And I actually used that as a sign-in sheet, and everybody opted in like that.
Got it. So Avish, maybe
And when you say continuing education, you talking like education centers, community colleges,
Yes,
universities,
adult education, they call it so many different terms everywhere.
so any kind of adult education place.
Yeah. Yeah, so if they, it's what they do is they probably put it into the local newspapers, they add a flyer to it and all these courses, or they kind of tell you to go online and sign up.
Hmm.
so. Avish, I think that it may be worth then, because I'm sure that in your area, you've probably got probably three, four, or five of these places. That is there any on the street corners there downtown or in the burbs? Do they have some kind of a box where you can pick up a catalog of courses? Do they have that?
I haven't seen one, but probably because I haven't really been looking. So
Yeah, because I think that the idea here is if you can get, just similarly to what we're doing with, when you're doing free webinars, the thing is, the goal is get people on the list. Now, Tony, gives with some of the figures that you've been getting, we figured out that your opt-ins were generating a decent amount per unit, right?
That is correct.
How did we come up with that number again? And what was it?
Well, well, let me give you a general, and then you can ask me specifics, but over the last few years, I've collected over maybe about 7,000 names.
Okay.
And so I've continued to connect with them through basically just kind of word of mouth through the colleges and universities. And also when people ask of me, they recognize me even on the street because a lot of my pictures are up in continuing education.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's kind of an interesting thing.
And so what happens is this has been over since 2006 or so. You've gotten about 7,000 names, right?
That is correct. And these people have seen me face to face, which is like it's an easy sale after that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, Avish, I don't know. I mean, you like to teach as well, so it might be something worth pursuing. And I don't know, Tony, you sort of let me get you up to date on Avish. We originally started out sort of targeting the speaker market, people who are in the speaking business or interested in getting into it. Now the focus has changed, and we're really we're working on how to be funny as a speaker, which sort of enlarges the possible size of the audience, similar to people who want to travel. That's a fairly big group. So anyone who wants to be funnier when they speak is the target market. So, Avish, I'm thinking that maybe, again, in an effort to generate, opt-ins for a negative cost, getting people to pay to be a prospect, it might be worth trying that. And I think you'd probably enjoyed it. And Tony, at the height or even whenever, you were doing a max of 2 a month, right?
Actually, I was kind of going kamikaze. I was kind of doing like this thing like every weekend.
Okay, so but certainly you could, you can decide on how often you want to do it, Avish, and make it so that it fits into a schedule, et cetera, et cetera. But it might be a good idea, and it would generate some face-to-face contact with people too. Does that sound good? And if you would Google,
It does, and to get this started, Tony, all you did was you just wrote up a short the catalog description essentially, and just sent it out to the coordinators of these programs.
Yeah, I just kind of noticed that if they don't really know you, it's really good just to kind of have a little bit of a package, like what you're trying to approach them with, what type of course, resume, what have you. And it's better you deal with them face to face, because over the phone I felt there was a lot of apprehension. Because with my topic, people think when I tell them what I do, it's like too good to be true. So it's exactly it. So for me, I had to do a little bit more legwork. And it's not that hard when you get this all going, because then they all talk to each other, and then they actually ask them, well, what do you think of Tony? Yeah, he's good. And then they call me to ask me to come down to their continuing education centers and do talks.
and Tony, tell
And
them.
do you normally do this is this a 1 day class, or is this like a 4 week thing, or that you do?
Well, Avisha, I actually do a 1 day class, and then because of that, I thought of other classes that actually lead into other kind of areas in my travel niches, and that actually it's an easy sell. That they actually usually they take my general course, and then they'll actually sign up for my other courses.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so that again, I think that might be something worth doing. So, if, for example, Vish, let's try and go to, let's see, and I'm typing with my left hand only here. So,
Okay.
continuing, you know what? I'll just continuing, continuing education, Philadelphia. And if I sound a little bit loopy, it's because I am. Philadelphia. Okay.
It's because of the drugs.
Yeah. Yeah. So you could look at, um, let's say, continuing education centers or opportunities. Let's try centers. Here's Philadelphia.
And remember, not all of them actually will go after kind of more how-to topics, because it's more academic, at least speaking. So you have to go after the ones. So when I review their programs and stuff, it's usually I get the sense that there's topics that are similar to mine, or it's they're actually going after these types of how-to information kind of topics. Then I approach them. If they're kind of too academic and they're wanting it as a 4 week course or an 8 week course, that's not where I want to go.
Yeah, and when I used to do these in New York, Avish, I would do a 3 hour one-time class, and that was really efficient because, if I get 25 or 30 people to show up, and I didn't really care about making any money on that front end of that, but I would then capture all those names, and again, as you've heard me say repeatedly, that the value of an opt-in that is generated through direct face-to-face contact is obviously probably 5 to 10 times more valuable, at least I would say, than an email or an opt-in that's generated through web-based kind of stuff.
Oh, well, definitely gonna follow up on this because I've long said I would like to do public seminars. I just didn't want to outlay the cash and risk and do all the marketing. But partnering with a group like this, just to get in front of people, I think it's definitely something. So I'd like to give it a try for a while. Try a few programs and see how it goes.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a lead time on it, so you'll have to. And what they'll want to see is you should be. And I'll tell you that what you've prepared for your webinars in terms of sort of your PowerPoint. If you show them, they'll want to see anywhere from a 4 to 5 line description of the class, a good title for the class, and then they'll want to see what's the outline of the class itself, what is the length. You might want to offer it to them and say, I can do this in either this or that format. My suggestion is a one-time 3-hour class.
Yeah.
And
when coordinators ask for, sorry, Fred, coordinators want to know what your schedules are 4 or 5 months in advance. So that's another little challenge you have.
yeah. Yeah, and that's one of those things where, Avish, they don't, this is where you have a dilemma a little bit, because in your case, you're trying to generate speaking revenue and speaking income, and it's one of those things where if you all of a sudden got a gig on a time where you were supposed to be doing a continuing ed thing, they would get pissed off at you if you decided, you couldn't show up. But I understand that in your case, one thing where you're getting paid $5 or $6 grand versus this,
Yeah.
which is building the opt-in list. So there's a little bit of a conundrum there.
Yeah, it happens once in a while, but I guess the advantage of not being a super busy book speaker is it's not,
Yeah.
that likely to happen.
Yeah, I mean, but just keep that in mind. So,
Yeah, I'll keep that in mind.
but I think that it might be a really good test, because I could hear, I could see copy being written that says, how would you like to be funnier every time you spoke, whether it's a wedding or this or that. Now you can, learning these techniques, and so you show people, because be more funny. It's kind of like everyone, I think, and I was just, for some reason, I couldn't sleep at all last night, so I'm watching every late night show, including, well, not that it's that late, but I was watching Fallon and then Seth Meyers, and I'm thinking to myself that how often do you hear people, they think it definitely, but sometimes they actually say it out loud, where they say, wow, wouldn't it be great if I could be as funny as, or if I could be at least mildly entertaining when, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And so I think that your topic, similar to Tony's in terms of travel, has got pretty broad-based appeal. Make
Yeah,
sense?
definitely. No, I think it's the type of thing that could work well with this program.
Yeah, I think
These
it
types of
would.
programs.
Tony, do you have any thoughts for Avish on how to do that? Anything
Yeah.
deeper?
That's the key, is to make it more general, because that's not a target market, right? So it's like somebody who just kind of looks at this program or brochure out of a local newspaper, picks it up and wants to get out of the house. And they want to kind of learn, and they want to do stuff. They just want to go to their local continuing ed. And by the way, when you partner with continuing education, and they see your blurb, they trust continuing ed. They don't know who you are, so that makes it an easier sale for you to get them in the door, because they trust them for choosing you.
Yeah, so that's something to think about there, Avish, I think.
Yeah, sounds great.
Yeah, that would be. I don't really know why we haven't sort of talked about that before, but that's the beauty of having multiple JV partners, is that people are doing different things, and it's always helpful to know that. Now, again, I guess Trey wasn't able to make it on. He's got some stuff, and Carla, who is, let's see, Carla, I don't think she's on either. Huh. Well,
He's winning too much in the aria.
So there you have it. That's a sort of a good idea there. I was going to try and see if there was something else here that I can share that's of value. Something else happened, but I'm kind of I'm a little bit out of it. So Avish, what about what have you found to be the most? Now is the site, you changed the intro video? Maybe we should look at that. Be funny as a speaker.
Well, I did change the intro video. Before was just like a little video of me being funny, but this is your kind of more standard me talking to
So
the
this
camera
is
type thing.
this is the new one, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's hit it. Well, let's see.
Hello and welcome to BeFunnyAsASpeaker.com. My name is Avish Parashar, and I, along with my partner Fred Gleeck, put up this website to help you, as you might guess, be funny as a speaker. I have been living and working in the humor world for pretty much my entire life. Did the whole comedy thing as a kid, did humorous plays, and messed around with friends, like many of you probably did. And then in college, I started doing improv comedy. And since then, which is, gosh, now, like 22 years ago, I have been studying, performing, and teaching improv comedy. About 12 years ago, I started a business as a professional speaker. So I have been living in that humorous speaking world for about 12 years now, where I use my improv comedy to make audiences laugh and teach points. But over that process, I also learned how to be a funny storyteller and how to do stand-up comedy and how to use props. So I kind of started using a lot of variety in being funny. About 7 years ago, I joined up with Fred Gleeck, and we started putting together
Hold on, hey,
materials
one
of
second, guys.
speakers.
All of a sudden, we started getting some echo. I think it's me that's getting the echo.
Yeah, I'm hearing that. I'm not from.
Who did something? Did anyone do anything different? All of a sudden, go to a speaker system or something? Tony, did you or Avish?
I didn't.
Tony, did you do something?
No, sir.
Huh, that's weird. Because we all of a sudden got started.
Oh, no, I didn't do anything good.
Okay. Mine is actually, I'm hearing myself. You guys getting that echo?
Yeah, it's if you look at who's talking, when you talk, right, Tony's name comes up too. I think maybe an echo from Tony.
Yeah, I'm gonna mute you guys for a second here. Let me just see if I can do that. Hold on a second.
Here, I'll mute myself,
I
Fred.
got it. It's done. Okay, let me continue to see if it works.
Be funnier. Because it's something we all need. You know, there's an old joke in the speaking industry, do you need to be funny? Only if you want to get paid. And while there are exceptions, it's not that far from the truth. Audiences, planners, clients love speakers who can engage their group, not just with great content, but with great storytelling and great humor. So once you start adding humor to your presentations, you're going to see some awesome benefits. Obviously, it's great when audiences laugh. That makes you feel good. From a business standpoint, you can charge higher fees, right? You can move from just a trader to a keynoter because keynoters need to have that entertaining aspect.
I've got an idea here. Let me see if I unmute you guys here. Let me, Avish, I'm thinking that I think that what we may want to do to make this a little bit more engaging is to intersperse in some of the best little clips that you have from some of the webinars you've done with the last group, where you can say, well, take this for example, and I would move it along and just sort of show examples and make it a little bit more MTV-ish, because I think right now the talking head isn't as effective as something where you could sort of put a mashup together, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I can try to put some of that together.
I'm just thinking that, at least for me, I think that I'd like to see, you know, like if you were to go through some of the material that you've already recorded and sort of find some of the best, you know, the best points. If you hear a few there, here's the kinds of things we do, boom. And if you notice that if I did that and then boom. So what we're doing is trying to, you know, sort of a little bit, at least for me, because the total length of the video here being 3 minutes and 40 seconds, I think you're going to have to make it a little bit more grab me right away. And I would say that if you do, you know, everybody wants to be more funny when they speak, right? If you're listening to this program, you're listening to this video, I'm sure that's how you feel. Well, let me give you an example from a class I did recently. Boom, onto that. So say, now you see what I did there? I was trying to show you, boom, let me show you another thing here. So all of these things, I mean, I just like the idea of improving the sort of the speed at which this video would be going to engage more. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I'm gonna have to kind of. Oh.
But I mean, I don't know if it'll, you know, we'd have to see what the numbers are, but that to me seems sensible. Let me unmute Tony too. And again, Tony, you don't know Avish or whatever. Were you feeling a little bit sort of like you want things moving a little bit more? Hey Tony, there must be a problem on your
Well,
end.
I was just trying.
When you've got some kind
I'm
of an
sorry
echo
for
going on.
distracting you with this.
I'm gonna mute you. Okay. So what I would try and do, Avish, and again, I know you just spent time to do this. Let's leave it like that, and let's see if we did something else later on, if it improved the opt-in rates. Like right now, how long has the new video been up? And I'll unmute you. Wait a second. Sorry. Unmute. Okay. How long has the new video been up, Avish?
This video I put up, I think, Saturday or Sunday morning.
Okay, so we don't have
it's
any
a few
data.
days.
Why don't we let it run for the next, month or so, and take a look at what are the, how many people we get opting in, and then mess with it rather than try to do it now.
Yeah, that works for me.
Yeah, and I think that what I can do also for you is come up with, because I know that you've certainly got plenty to do. Why don't I come up with a little bit of an outline and create a little bit of a script that I think might work, and then all you'll have to do is just drop in some clips.
Yeah,
Would
that'd
that
be helpful.
would that work for you? Yeah, because that way, I mean, I don't want you to do this all on your own, and I have an idea that, but again, I could be wrong too. Let's see what the numbers show and see how well we do with what we have, and then try something new in the future. So, Vish, would you give Tony an idea of sort of what you've seen so far working with me and sort of what he can expect because he's just getting started?
Sure. I mean, Fred is definitely an idea man. So anytime you've got a problem or are working on something new, you've got to have 5 or 10 ideas about how to make it better, improve it. So as long as you're willing to kind of keep up and implement, Fred's going to keep working and throwing ideas and variations at you until you get it to work. I mean, even some of the stuff we've been doing for a long time still haven't quite figured out the combination, but every week Fred is on there, let's try this. So he's not, as long as you continue to work, he's not going to give up till your website and you are where you want to be.
Yeah, and I think, Vish, the other thing is, and again, I'm getting kind of spacey here, so I'm sort of barely, I'm maybe 50% at this point, so it's kind of funny. Let's do this. Let's, rather than me go babbling on, and now I'm getting an echo on my own stuff. So, why don't we just sort of end it for today? Thank you guys for being there, because I'm going to start sounding even stupid to myself. So, and we'll end for today, and then next week, Wednesday, hopefully I'll be in a better state and able to perform at a higher level. Everybody okay with that?
Yeah, definitely.